Hi, I'm Dave Barnes.
And I'm John McLaughlin.
And welcome to Dadville.
Dadville is a podcast where we talk about life, love, and the pursuit of awesome dadding.
It's funny thoughts and deep talks.
So please, enjoy your time here in Dadville and enjoy this episode with...
Dustin Nickerson. Dustin, we are thrilled to have you back. You know what we realized... Is this you're officially a two-timer, because while we did do the
I can see
funny
that
podcast, it was still on the Dadville channel, and so this is your repeat. We don't have, John, we have like 3 repeat customers. So you are in some rarefied air, my man. Like, well,
who are they, and how do I kill them to make sure they're not the third? I will be the third.
There can only be one Highlander. So I'm really thrilled. We talked so much about this last time, but I think you are such a wonderful dude and so funny, and thrilled with the book, by the way. Congrats on
Thank you.
On that.
Appreciate
that. But for those who are not hip, we do. You may actually we didn't do this when you came on the other version of this, but we always start what we call like the fill in, like the brag sheet, like what's he doing, what's he been up to. We do some of your dimensions. We actually have your 40 time, which I couldn't believe we got, but we did find it online.
8.9.
Some people can run it twice, and it takes you to run it once. How humiliating would that be? Just sidebar, if you're doing a 40 and you're like, a guy has turned around and he passes you on the way.
And you're going against like DK Metcalf or some star sprinter or whatever.
Ranking.
Yeah, I've thought about that before. Like, I wonder if there's one who, like, if they could beat me on like a 1 foot hop. You know? Or could 2 of them beat me in a potato race? Yeah, potato, you know.
Like, how infirmed do they have to be to beat you? Like, what do you have to take from them for them to beat you?
Arms, they could lose both arms and beat me, no problem. It's just a matter of how much of one leg can they lose before I can beat them. I bet if they lost one kneecap, they could probably still beat me.
Yeah, they're throwing their leg.
Yeah.
They're just like chucking it around their body.
I would watch that show.
It's enough of something to land on that
show.
Still propels.
Or how much like weight would they have to carry that I could beat them? You know, like if they have like the squat bar or whatever.
Or like just a human.
How many humans could they carry?
How many kids /
Who's the fastest person in the NFL? Let's say it's the receiver who just went to Miami, right?
From New Orleans.
From KC.
KC.
Oh
my gosh,
I forget his name too. How many?
Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill. Could Tyreek Hill carry all of 3 of my children
and still beat you?
And beat me in a 40? And after that, and then maybe my wife as well. Could he carry my whole family? Which is a very funny visual.
The thing that I like about that image is that someone, and then they go with him. Tyreek's my dad.
He's an alpha, you know.
Oh my gosh. I love the thought too that someone will have made something that actually they can, like, it's like a coat that fits humans. Like someone had thought about that, and they just sort of like slide in on his back in these very
Or he could just do a rickshaw, right? Like, could he get he could just do a rickshaw of the whole Nickerson family. Throw the cats in there for good measure, and just annihilate me on a 40.
And then your wife either has to kiss you or not kiss you after you perform, just to really shame you to death. Like,
I couldn't catch up to her if I wanted to kiss her.
Tyreek kisses her.
Tyreek, he would have still like caught 84 yards of passes that day with my family in a rickshaw behind them.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. Jeez Louise. Okay. Giggle Fest 2000. Okay. So Dustin, here's Dustin, folks. Comedian, as you can tell already, giggles abound. Father of three kids. How old are the kids, by the
way? 15, 12, and 8.
Okay. Cranking on the road doing shows, over 300 a year, which just, good Lord. That is just I saw a million
Well,
faces.
we
in a
do.
rock and roll.
I rock. You gotta hit the rock
lean
a little
into it,
harder
yeah.
there. Yeah,
What?
comedians cheat. We're not
300
musician
shows a
types
year.
who can only do one show a night. You know,
Right.
we double
You
dip
double down.
sometimes.
That's right. That's fair.
Oh,
That's
I
fair.
mean, like this Saturday in LA, I'll do 3 shows. So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
we sometimes
Yeah,
we
for
triple
anyone
dip.
that's like also just like sad for you, don't be sad. Like
It's
there's
not
those
300
numbers.
dates a year.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
300
that's right.
sets a year.
Sets, yeah, well said, well said. Comedy special Overwhelmed has been viewed over 150,000 times on YouTube. It is available streaming. Videos have gained over 20 million views. Good, and we talked about this in the last one again. People, if you hadn't listened to our last thing about his comedy, it's amazing. He is a hysterical man. And I told John as we were prepping for this, literally we sat in here and I said, we can't start watching these because it will never end. Like this will turn into the Dustin Nickerson black hole of humor. And we have to do this podcast. Host the Don't Make Me Come Back There podcast with his wife, Melissa. Did a national tour backyard comedy in 2020, which I love that. John and I both have been doing backyard shows too.
Right.
Nice.
Which has been really fun.
Yeah.
And has a book, which we are so excited about, called How to Be Married to Melissa, which is out June 7th. I laugh every time I say that. It's so great.
Thank you.
It's so great.
Yeah. I did, I don't want you guys to feel jealous, but I am seeing other podcasts.
That's just the title of that book.
I just did one right
genius.
before this, and also from this prison, and they have like no Christian affiliation. And so they're like, so I'm sorry, what kind of room are you in?
Yeah.
Whereas you two are like, oh no, I see
What?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got there immediately.
Yeah, I can see the half of a Jesus freak poster. To your left, barely
well,
left.
our generation. I don't know. I don't know who it is now. Cutlass. I don't know. I don't know who they're still into.
Oh, yeah.
That's a pretty dated poll. I think.
I was like, I don't think you helped that at all.
Yeah. I'm so happy not to know. Yeah, you kids like POD? That's the cool one. They're on MTV.
Yeah, they're edgy.
Right.
Very
Oh
edgy.
my god, yeah. It's, the guitar player from POD and I were at a concert together the other day recently, and I was like, I know who you are, because we were. I'm down a trail. I have wild ADHD. Come with
chase
me.
it. Actually, understands.
Yeah, so we're at the Thrice concert in San Diego.
Oh yeah,
so,
yeah.
Again, we're pulling lots of early 2000s
Keep going.
faith-ish associated emo things.
Faith adjacent.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, and we were, because I've always been a big Thrice fan, but Dustin and I have randomly connected through this stupid business that we're in, and he got us tickets. It was great, and he was like, You must like be a friend of them, right? And I was like, yeah, you must be in POD. And he's like, oh, thanks. And I was like, I know who you are, and it was a fun little interaction. It was one of those things that's like, I know your face, and then I Googled his name to confirm one of the, because you're like, I mean, I don't know if I know any of the, you know how it is. You don't know all the band member names, you know. But it was a very fun moment, and I was just like,
that's why John and I actually got out of bands, because we wanted to be the one name you remembered.
No, I totally get that. My wife is the CFO of our company, but I'll never put her name on the title.
Even though she got on the book.
Even though it's like we said, it's a good title. But the podcast that I was on last, they were like, do you worry that you just put out this guide to the world on how to steal your wife?
Oh,
and I go,
my gosh.
I go, that's a fair point that I had not considered.
You call the publisher, immediately pull the book.
Guys, the book has to come out. Yeah. We can only go in Lifeway now. We can only go.
Gosh. I'm not scared of those people. I'm not worried about those people. So Dustin, tell us about like growing up. What is the growing up years for you? I mean, you cheat this in the book, but we're gonna let you answer this. But like, what is that? Where is that? When is that? What was the sort of family home vibe like? What was going on?
Sure. Yeah, as a Pacific Northwest kid, grew up South Seattle. Single dad. My parents split when I was like 5, so it was just my house was me, my dad, my sister, and my Uncle Butch.
Uncle Butch. I remember you talking about Uncle Butch.
Yeah,
I'm already a little giggly about this.
That's what's nice about Butch is you picture him, and I'm like, whatever you saw, man, that is him. That is that exact. Don't let your imagination stray for a second. That was Butch.
I did love that point in your book where you say, like, and just so you know, like, if you want to picture Uncle Butch, just close your eyes and picture Uncle Butch, and that's Uncle Butch. I'm like, the way you said that was so great.
That's him. That's him.
Nailed it.
Had a son, named him Tater. I mean, this is our family. So my family is, I don't know how much, I mean, you've traveled, but the Northwest, there are lots of rednecks on the Northwest, but they live in the rural towns. And my family, the Nickerson clan, is from like rural Oregon. And my dad went to work for Alaska Airlines, moved to Fairbanks, where my sister was born, and then moved to Seattle. So we were just these like rednecks. But my dad worked for the union, the airlines union in Seattle. So I was like, you guys, this is why I don't have a political affiliation. I'm not bipartisan. I'm like bipolar when it comes to beliefs. I don't know what to believe. I don't, my dad was like pro-gun and pro-gay, and I'm like, who are you?
What is
this? Isn't like the 90s. Like you're like, I don't know where, we don't fit into anything here.
Yeah.
So that was my household. My dad, like I said, he would work like long hours and stuff, but he was very sacrificial to make sure that Jess and I, my Jessica being my sister, had a roof over our heads and went to school, and had the opportunity to get to go to college and get a useless degree and $60,000 worth of debt. So
yeah, he really
What did you study in college?
I studied religion, and I went to the University of Washington. I studied religion and history.
Oh wow,
double major.
Yeah. It was a minor in history. There's a lot of crossover. If you're studying religion, you're studying history, especially because this wasn't like at a Christian college.
Right.
They weren't they weren't apologetics classes. Right. They were like, hey, this is what Islam is like. Not here's the answers to why Islam is wrong.
Right.
Right. Which is what it wasn't the case for faith or whatever. Or whatever that apology. So many 2000s Christian references. I'm so sorry.
It's just we're swimming in them.
Keep them coming.
We're the prayer of Jabez away from just shutting this whole thing down.
My breath stinks. Could I get a testament, please?
Hey now. So something that's really interesting to me is that you didn't. I mean, I feel like the story of kids who go through a split home is that they go with the mom. Like, why was that? Why were y'all with your dad most of the time?
It was really, he was just kind of in the place to do it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Financially, just kind of all the facets of life. The judge looked at the situation and said, "Dad."
Oh, the judge did.
Yeah.
Oh,
no, that was
okay.
It was a decision that was made that my dad got, primary custody, which for a while was, it wasn't like exclusive custody, but there was a while where like my mom was like living out of state and stuff where we just didn't even see her for pretty long periods of time. So, that was, it is very common. Very uncommon. There's not a lot of single dad things, And,
so what is that like? Because I think some people probably hear that and go like, man, that would have been amazing, because dads are always like the cool, like they're the ones that's like,
just the grossest house, just the grossest, dirtiest, smelliest house.
The place where you would imagine Uncle Butch would live.
Yeah, there was just no TLC, no nothing. The house was cold physically and emotionally.
I just imagine he takes uncooked steak and throws it in the den, and you guys run toward it.
Yeah, it wasn't far from that. Yeah, it was not the fridge. We weren't even like poor. We weren't like, we didn't have money, but we weren't like destitute. But like, we never had like food. Like there was no like fridge. There was no like, you would open the fridge and there would just be just a thing of Budweiser and orange juice, and then my uncle Butch, his like go-to bar that he would shut down every night. So my Butch would work the swing shift, so he'd work from 2 to 10, and then he would go shut down Dynasty's, which was a Chinese restaurant, on the way home.
What?
And the owners like loved him. You know, they loved him so much, and they would send him home with the leftover clam chowder. Which, why they were serving clam chowder, I don't know.
This is so many.
My fridge, I would open, there would be like orange juice and then Budweiser, and then just this vat of clam chowder from a Chinese restaurant. From Dynasty's.
You know what I like about that too is it's plural. It's not dynasty.
Yeah.
It's many dynasties.
It's several dynasties. Yeah.
It's any dynasties you're interested in, we have those here.
Dave.
Hey, John.
Did you know that 84% of families with kids under 18 don't have even a basic will?
You know, I actually get that. It's still crazy. But the thing is, getting a will is so easy to do, and it gives your family such an amazing amount of peace of mind.
Exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
You see, with Epic Will, you can protect your family in as little as 5 minutes, and it costs less than a trip to Target.
I feel like you've been spying on my Target trips.
Yeah, you spend a lot.
It's
Also, no comment.
No.
Epic Will makes it so easy to make your last will and testament, to name a guardian for your kids, and you'll be able to ensure any health care wishes you might have.
Epic Will helps you create state-specific documents that are written by an attorney with over 30 years of estate planning experience.
Who's with me? Go to epicwill.com today and get your family protected. And use the code DAD20 to get 20% off. That's DAD20.
That's epicwill.com and use the code DAD20 to help protect your family today.
So I remember, though, in your book, when you had that scene where your parents were fighting and your mom got out of the car and then you got out of the car.
Yeah.
Because you said, if I was anything, I was a mama's boy. And now, like, how did that hit you when the judge gives his, like, hey, you're going with your dad? Do you remember?
Yeah.
How old were you when that happened?
I thank you for asking. I was hoping that we could talk about childhood trauma
Oh,
here.
Yeah. Here we
go. To promote my comedy book. It was okay. So I'll say it like this. Every night, or at least 300 shows a year, I have to have strangers tell me that I'm worth something. Mm-hmm. Does that answer the question?
Oh my gosh.
I need the applause and the approval of anonymous nobodies.
Place, man. You're in a safe place.
Does that answer your question?
Oh my gosh, that is amazing.
That actually answers a couple of my questions, which I'm a little annoyed about.
It actually answers a couple of questions about myself that I've never asked, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Golly,
every night
hysterical.
I need someone to tell me that I'm worth something. That's all. That's all.
That's it.
Just
That's
as my friend says, just tiny hugs from strangers. That's all. Just that's tiny.
So when did you start realizing that you were funny? Was it around that time?
It was in the courtroom, actually. I just
you had a bit, and it just killed.
Yeah. Judge, traffic though. Did you get here? Am I right? Oh my gosh! Are they ever gonna finish this construction?
Oh my gosh!
Just 5. I'm doing a full Dangerfield in there. It's no. I don't know when. Most stand-up comedians are not like class clowns. We're not particularly we're not known as the funny person a lot. We are funny. Mm-hmm. I always took pride in that the funny person always thought I was funny.
Yeah.
Like that I remember,
critically
like one of my best. Exactly. Yeah, I had the respect of my peers.
Yeah.
Even though I wasn't, mass.
Zeitgeist.
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't the most consumed artist. I was Copeland. Everyone, yes. I don't know if that a reference you guys get or not. I was the first
we're just swimming in these 2000s references.
Yeah, I'm not on the label to make them money, but it's the respect of the peers.
Yeah.
So if I would have never guessed that was the answer that was going to come to mind there, but but I was, people from high school are always surprised that I ended up being a comedian. But I knew that I could make people laugh, and I knew I could make my teachers laugh, and I knew that, you know, like I had some of this in me. But I also I'm like comedy's the only thing that has ever made sense to me, and it's the only thing that's ever helped me make sense of the world. And so I like consumed comedy so much as a kid. Like I was the Comedy Central generation. Like I was just like, you know, like watching specials all the time and just in love with it. But you don't know how to start it. You don't know how to like, what do I,
right.
do I update my resume? Do I change my LinkedIn? How do I become a stand-up comedian? So I didn't start stand-up until I was 27. I had 2 kids, and, you know, like I had a whole life. I'd been in youth ministry. I'd worked middle management at a rec center for 5 years. And I just started going to open mics. And then that's when I learned how, like, oh, I can do this on stage. I can hone this, because it is a different thing to like make you guys laugh or make the kids laugh or make a group laugh than to go on the stage with the only thing you're supposed to do is make them laugh. Yeah. Great. If you can make them feel, cool. If you can make them think, awesome. You have to make them laugh. That's the main thing that you have to do here, you know?
Yeah, that's a great point. Was that something, especially, I'm curious with your marriage, like when was having that first conversation with Melissa sort of like, was that a terrifying moment, or was that something y'all were slow building where it was like she could tell like, okay, this could turn into something, or did you kind of have like you sat down and you're like, look, honey, I got to spread my wings. It's time.
Yeah. She knew that I was looking for a change. She knew that I was unfulfilled. We were considering different options. Maybe it would be working the speaking circuit in the church world. Maybe it would be writing a book. Maybe it would be something. We didn't really know what it was, but I knew stand-up. I had always had it almost as like a bucket list thing. Like, wow. Hey, you gotta try it at least once.
Yeah.
And the great thing about stand-up is it's so bad at first that you know pretty quickly if you want to stick with it. And I did 3 minutes at an open mic.
The atrophy rate just must be through the roof.
Oh, I know that
Attrition
there's so many people that quit after the first one.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And rightfully so, honestly. People come up a lot. They're like, oh, I've always thought about doing stand-up. And I always say the same thing. I was like, well, do it. You'll know. You'll know if you actually want.
Yeah.
Because you're watching me, you know, at my comedy club show or friggin' opening for Taylor Tomlinson at the Ryman or something. And you're like, I want to do that. And you're like, no. This is 10 years.
Yeah.
And I'm fortunate that it only took 10 years to get here.
Yeah.
So it's, it lets you know pretty quick, you know, when you stand up front of there for 3 minutes and there were 6 people and just going like, dance, joke monkey, dance.
I mean, it's so crazy to me. You guys are both stand-up comedians.
No, don't do that.
Yeah, it makes me. And look, I've talked about this on here before. When I get up on stage and play music, if I'm honest with myself, the only thing I'm worried about before the show is the banter and the flow. Like the set list, the flow, and the banter is the only thing I'm thinking about. Because I've played these songs a billion times. Like, I know how that's going to go. And when I go up on stage, I don't really feel like I've made that first shot until they laugh at something. And then I can kind of relax and I can enjoy the show. But the fact that you guys get up on stage and that, like you're saying, like all these other things that they could feel, fine. If you make us laugh, but you have to make them laugh. It is so terrifying to me. I cannot imagine doing it. So how did that first time go?
Yeah, I mean, it's literally, stand-up comedy is Americans' number one fear.
Mm-hmm.
Like this, they're more scared of public speaking than anything. Mm-hmm. And stand-up comedy is the most intense form of public speaking because you have to be funny. You have to be funny. It's hard to be funny. It's very hard, but we can do it. The first time I told a 3-minute story, a lot of it, the first time you do it, you're trying to figure out the mechanics of like, there's a light. Okay, that'll give me a 1-minute warning. And should I keep the mic in the stand, or do I grab it and put it behind me, or do I sit on the stool? Or, okay, there's this list. Where am I on the list? How long is this going to take? So there's some basic mechanics of it. But the first time I was very nervous. I did 3 minutes. I told a story about being a middle school wrestler and having to wrestle a girl, and how like that's life's ultimate lose-lose situation. There's no such thing as winning in that scenario. And I've never told that story on stage since, but I think I kind of I like that it's that. I like that I've never developed into a bit. It's just that's the first story.
Yeah, that was your get in. Yeah.
Yeah. And I got a laugh at the halfway mark, and I got 2 laughs. I remember. 90 seconds in, and at the end of 3 minutes, and I was hooked, and I was like, this is the best feeling in the world. I can't describe, at least for me it is, but to make a group of people laugh like this and to feel like, oh, I could do this.
Yeah.
The next 30 times went terribly.
Uh-huh.
But I was hooked,
Yeah. It's funny. It's funny and really telling and fascinating that you say that. I remember when I started to do my first few shows that way, and I think it's because I had performed for so long that I had the wherewithal, thank God, to do this. But one of the first things that I did, knowing, okay, I'm not going to have a guitar, I'm just telling jokes, was I literally, before people got there, I walked out and did everything you just said by myself.
Right.
I was like,
right.
Because I'd never done it. So I was like, okay, do I hold the mic? I literally had 5 minutes where I was like, am I the guy that holds the stand and the mic and does that vibe? Or do I sit? And by the grace of God, I thought about that, because I was like, if I have to think about this real time, it's going to make everybody uncomfortable because they're watching me figure it out. And I think that's one of the things that, the few times I've done it that's so terrifying about it is it's just, there's so few things happening that when they happen, they really affect the show. Like, it's just you standing there. So how you hold the mic, where you hold it, how much you take a sip of water, where you put the water, is there a stool out there? Like, those little things matter because it's all that's out there.
Right.
And so it's
you take the sip of water,
yes.
There's a million little things that you only know if you've performed before.
Yeah. Which that made me feel really amazing. So thank you for saying that.
So did those little things, affect you as much now, or would you say that you're totally comfortable up there now?
I mean, it depends on the show. It depends how my set's going.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You're never far away from a bomb. They're always there. The bomb isn't as bad as it used to be sometimes, but there's so many different types of gigs that, I've had bad sets, and I probably had 3 or 4 sets this last month that I'm like, ooh, that was rough.
Wow.
So I am comfortable up there when we've able to kind of get in. I always say it feels like dancing a little bit. Like they're just kind of like, we're in a rhythm together. You're laughing the way I want you to at the right times. You're stepping to me. I'm kind of stepping. You kind of get in a natural roll and rhythm to it. And then other times you're just like, well, the only reason I'm thinking about my water is because I'm so hot on stage right now because I'm bombing that I want to dump it on my head. Can I do that? Can I have an escape? Can I do an ice bucket challenge because I'm sweating down my back? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the great thing. I mean, there's a million. This conversation can never end, so I'm not going to start it. But I do think that is one of the best differences between playing music and what you do, is that if everything is not wildly not funny, even if the song is not great, I've got a reprieve for about 3 minutes from that moment.
Yeah.
Like if it is bombing and even the song is terrible, I've still got 3 minutes that I'm not having to think about what I'm saying, or if you're enjoying it, I'm just sitting here. I can just sort of take a brain break. I'm like, oh God, thank goodness for the song. Okay, well, what can I talk? That is the thing that is
interesting.
So
you guys, when you're playing the music, you're not, if you don't feel, because we are in the same business, we have the same goals.
Yeah.
And we're trying to make a connection with people. That's the main goal.
Yeah.
We have different outcomes, what type of connection, but when your song's not connecting with them, I mean, what does that feel like on stage? Does it feel like nothing, or does it feel like, gosh, I can't wait for this song to end or this set, or do you just stare at the frets and be like, well, at least you're there for me, honey?
It's just so much more subjective, I think, when when a song is not connected.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I can be playing and I can just be feeling like my voice, I know I'm not going to be able to hit this like high part on the bridge. So maybe like around second verse, I'm like, I'm going to have to do something different on the bridge. That sucks because that's a great point in the whatever. And so I'm kind of in my head about that. And then I feel like this song is not connecting because I'm not able to perform it right. And then that could have been, 20 people in the crowd, their favorite song and the favorite way they've ever heard it. It's just so subjective.
Right.
Like if banter is not landing, it's just not landing.
Johnny.
Hey, Dave.
Oh, well, that was
I didn't want to step on your thunder.
Thank you. Listen, I want to tell you, John, I love the fact that online I can buy things, I can put my information in.
Mm-hmm.
I need 100 pics. I have shows. Nobody can judge me. So
Like
I
pictures of yourself?
No, guitar pics.
Oh,
That's
okay.
right, yeah, but
Okay.
there's just things that I need.
Why do you have so many pictures of yourself around?
Listen, this is for a different
We're getting
podcast.
off topic. Sorry.
But I can get on there. I can buy it. It's quick. It's easy. It keeps me from having to run around everywhere.
That's true. And, it's getting easier and easier because you can just do the
Click.
everything's
Right
saved
there,
in
right
there,
there,
your
right
credit
there.
card information.
But I'm not going to lie to you. It scares me a little bit.
It is a little scary. Well, listen, with ExpressVPN, all your information is safe,
Ooh,
Dave.
okay.
That's why I never go online without ExpressVPN. A VPN, or virtual private network, is an app that reroutes your internet connection through their secure servers so your ISP can't see the site you visit.
Listen, that is so smart, John.
Yep.
Which is right on brand with you, okay?
Thank you.
ExpressVPN also keeps all of your information secure by encrypting 100% of your data with the most powerful encryption available.
And most of the time, I don't even realize that I have it on because it runs seamlessly in the background and it's so easy to use. All you have to do is tap one button and you're protected.
John, ExpressVPN is available on all your devices, phones, computers, and even your smart TV. So there's no excuse to not use it.
Okay. Protect your online information today with the VPN rated #1 by Business Insider. Visit my exclusive link, expressvpn.com/Dadville, and you can get an extra 3 months for free on a 1-year package.
That's expressvpn.com/Dadville. Head to expressvpn.com/Dadville to learn more.
No, I was going to say, I think, again, that was the thing. If I learned anything, the first set that I ever did that was like a real set. So I did these kind of like sort of test sets where I only invited friends that I knew. This is probably 12 years ago, 13 years ago. And I did this tiny little place in Nashville. It was all 50 of my friends for 2 nights. So 50 people a night. And I just kind of told stories and whatever. And it was really, and so I followed up with all of them because they were all my good friends or just, people I knew. And I was like, hey, how did everybody think it went? And everybody was pretty much like, man, that was funny. You should mess with that maybe. The first one I really did was at the Belcourt Theater for 400 people. And it was just me doing stand-up. And I remember before I went out, my manager walked down and she was like, are you okay? Because I was white, terrified, literally like, what have I done? And that night, if I learned anything, and it was really fun, and it actually went pretty well, all things considered. But if there was one thing that I learned, like one thing, and there was a million things I learned, it was if you're not talking, it's kind of not good. Unless you are, like, you are different than this, Dustin. Like, watching you, because you've done it so long, you are so confident and in command of the stage. You can tell, I can tell when you're quiet, you're still confident. You're okay. You're just making a beat. Me, I was like, boo, man, 2 seconds of silence on the stage feels like a year and a half because everybody's kind of like just staring at you and you're kind of, so that was one of the things that I learned that. And the other thing I learned is like, I hadn't done some of these stories and I realized like the funniest part of the story was the middle of the story. And I still got to end the story.
I've done that before too.
So
Yeah. That happens too. Yeah, that happens even now where you're like, well, guess I got to rearrange that or Just change
Or just
something
lie.
altogether, because yes, the funniest part has to be
that's
the
what
end.
you- So I'm always curious. As we may have talked about this some before too, Dustin. But like, what is humor like with the kids? Like, are you kind of like, is one, are they funny? And then two, we laughed. John and I were laughing about this. We just had Jeff Maher on, who's a Food Network guy, who's also done improv. He's hysterical, and he said, and we laughed so hard about this. He's got a son, and he said their kind of sport, their kind of thing that they enjoy together is humor. And he said that when his son, who's like, he's close to your older kids' ages, he's somewhere in there, in his teens, he said that when he says something funny, Jeff will go, "That's good, but was that an original?" Like, he's always like, "Or did that a joke that your kid?" And I have laughed so much about that.
I don't want a Mencia around my
Oh my
house. I don't want
gosh.
someone
Oh my
stealing
gosh.
jokes.
And so I wonder, with yours, is that like how big of a deal is humor to you with your kids? Is that something that you can see a couple of them, one of them, none of them, all of them are funny? Are you trying to foster that? Like, what is that conversation like?
Yeah, it's a huge deal. I mean, we definitely, with me to them, I know there is an element of which they think they're funny, but there's also an element of which I am their dad. So I intentionally tell jokes to annoy them, because that's a big part of dad. And I also yell at them and get mad at them because I'm their dad. And so it's not like I'm like on the whole time with them, like we don't have a mic stand in the front room,
You should do that and just see what happens.
I have done it a little bit they have the girls have a little karaoke machine, and I've gotten it before. And like, so Zoom school was hard, and so they like the dad. There's a lot of that. But there's also like an important part of where you're like, I am your father. Like, I have to be stern with you at times, But they are all funny, and they're funny in their own unique ways. My son is in high school. He's in the, he's in the epicenter of puberty. So he's a disaster, as we all were, trying to figure out who he is. But he is funny and goofy at times. But he said this to my wife named Melissa. He's like, I get it with dad now. And she's like, what do you mean? He's like, if you're funny, you can get so many girls' numbers.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, I mean, you're not wrong.
100%.
I'm not. I mean, the biggest joke that I have recently on Instagram is just that, about how people are surprised that me and my wife are together. And they're like, oh, you must be funny. Like there is an element of truth to that.
Isn't it funny, by the way, that there is a shift, and I feel like this is the same with music, and maybe they kind of happen in tandem. But like growing up, being funny and think about it, like the kids that are funny when they're really young are annoying. It's not fun. They're not making anybody laugh. They're trying to be funny. Everybody's like, shut up.
No.
Same with music kids. Like, okay, you play piano, just like, please leave us all alone. Ouch. But there's this, and then sports.
Yeah. You get your talent show once a year. You get your big day.
But then there's this weird flip where it literally flips, where it's like, when you're funny, all of a sudden it's like, man, that guy, dude, he's hysterical. Oh, dude, he's so funny. Or like, God, he can sing. Have you heard him play piano? It's really cool. It's hysterical how much this, and thankfully for us, for the three of us, it happens right about the time that people get terrible at sports, or that doesn't matter anymore. And all of a sudden it's like the scepter gets handed to us.
Hey, Dave, we get it. You're funny and musical. We get it. You already did a huge flex about 5 minutes ago when you said you had 100 friends that you could invite to a private thing. 100 friends?
It was.
How did you find out? What adult has 100 friends?
I was doing a lot of miscellaneous activities around the town that involved money exchanging hands. I was also collecting people's email.
You were selling candy bars
door to door.
Okay.
Yeah. But isn't it? You know what I mean? But don't that thing where you do flip, like it does feel like all of a sudden you're like, oh, this thing I have been staking my claim on.
I think it starts to rise to the top when everybody gets
huge
in
currency.
like your son's age, when people start getting real insecure. Things are, like it's high school, and then if you have a thing that is like consistent, then it's all of a sudden it sort of gets the spotlight,
Oh yeah, and funny has a little more currency because you can't always bust out your violin,
right?
If you're good, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean, I will never, ever forget. I mean, this is embarrassing to say out loud. I'll never forget this moment. I was on a youth group trip, probably like early high school. We were doing with this youth group from another part of Mississippi, and all the girls were just like always the prettiest girls. Like I'd never seen girls. It was literally like they had just taken all the prettiest girls of Mississippi and put them in one youth group. And we went on this trip together down to Florida, both our youth group and their youth group. And we did a skit night. And I wasn't going to do it. Like, you know, it was whatever. And one of the guys was like, hey, we're going to do this skit night. And there was this big dating show at the time. And I can't, if I said it, y'all remember because we're all about the same age. And they're like, we just
singled out.
I think it was literally, it may have been singled out.
It
so
had
they
to
needed,
have been. That was the
they
first
needed
one.
an MC.
Yeah.
And so somebody was like, hey, Dave's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Like, see if Dave will.
Yes.
And I was like, sure. And I will never forget. I got on stage and just started, you know, being me, like just riffing and looking out. And some of these pretty girls were laughing. And I was like, oh, well, hello. And it was lit.
What do we have here?
What do we have here? And I remember after that, they came like, you know, I'm like ninth grade. And they were like, oh my God, you were so funny. And I was like, well, you had just seen a man take his first hit of like heroin or cocaine. Like you saw it real time. Oh my gosh.
Powerful, yeah. No, like a funny person in a group is like having like the Infinity Gauntlet, you know? You're like, I have all the, and I think that's why that's why people want to be funny, is because when they see somebody make somebody laugh, they go like, nobody else matters in the room right now.
Really well
Only
said.
the guy.
Yeah.
My wife, she says a lot now because like I am pretty introverted, like in groups, and she goes like, every once in a while though, you just like, I don't know, I think maybe you do it for me or something. You just turn it on. It's like a switch, and you can just go like bang, 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 bang. Like I like every once in a while I like to do it just to stay sharp on my social funny sharp. I like to see if I can get an elevator laughing. I did it like this happened where it was me and we were I was out on the road this last weekend with Nate Bargatze and then Graham Kay. And
jeez.
Yeah, this lady came in the elevator. I don't even really remember. It was her and her guy, and she was like, "Oh, can we get on? Can we?" And there was an awkward pause, and I was like, "Absolutely not." First laugh. All right, so they got it right here. And I was actually, no, he can stay, but you have to leave. Second laugh. And then I hit one more. We went down like 5 floors, and Graham's like, you really turned it on there. Every once in a while. You just gotta keep sharp, tell him, give him a little comedy right here.
I love that so much. So let's talk about the book. What got you wanting to write? I mean, first of all, the title, as John said.
Yeah, we need to talk about this title. I have a question about the title. And I just want you to see that I'm holding this book in my hand. I want to prove to you that I've read that much of this book. Look at that. Now, look, I'm going to be honest. Two things. One, I'm the world's slowest reader.
It is. He started about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
And I'm doing super well. Two, I've had this book for a couple days. I haven't had a chance to read it, and I started this morning, and I'm on page 72. Dustin.
That is.
Look at this.
72. That's a very high compliment. Thank you.
I love this book.
Wow.
But so the title.
Oh, man.
Here's my question about the title. Here's how I think it went. I think you had an idea for the title, and you were like, "Dang, I got to write a book now." Is that how it went?
Correct. You're exactly right.
Because the title's so good.
I've had that idea for about 7-8 years, and then a global pandemic happened, and my job was illegal, and I was like, "Well, I've got time." Yeah. The government was literally paying me to not do my job. That's how bad I am at comedy. They're like, no, stop it. Stay home. Don't let people gather. And I'll gather in backyards. You can't do that either. So, you've read 71 pages in it. You've gotten the thesis. 72. I'm so sorry. Marriage books are a crock. It's so ridiculous that they even exist. Just the premise, the idea that anyone could ever even give you any tips or like serious advice on how to make a relationship work when two individuals are so wildly different. Every relationship is its own weird living different organism that there are certain truths maybe, but not a lot, honestly. So that's why I just thought it was funny. Like I remember like I use this as an example. I think maybe in the book, but I not to throw this particular book under, under the train track here.
There we go.
Under the bus.
I was like, maybe it's the Pacific Northwest. I don't know.
Yeah. Under the canoe of the Northwest. Under the Subaru. Under the all-wheel drive Subaru is the but like love and respect. I don't know if you guys read that, and it was like basically it's like women want to feel loved and men want to feel respected. And you're like, I want to feel loved.
Exactly.
And my wife was like, I want to feel respected too. And I was like, those are the same emotion to me. Why can no. And so it's those type but that might have been a thing in one relationship or the people they interviewed. So it was you were 100% right. The idea came up that what if I wrote a marriage book that is not even really about marriage? It's about marriage, just the one, just ours.
Well, how did she feel? Like, was that like a tough pitch?
No, Melissa has like presidential veto power on anything that I make. And so there's nothing in there that she didn't approve of. And there's actually some stuff in there that she was like, no, I think you should push harder on that, or you should explore, particularly the faith chapter, where I was like, hey, this might be kind of like it's kind of almost an out of nowhere chapter thematically, but it is really important to us how our beliefs have changed and morphed and stuff over the years. And, it's not like we talk about it in there, I worked under Mark Driscoll at Mars Hill for 7 years. We've got some faith stuff, in there, and it's not a tell-all because I was so insignificant. Listen, the youth pastor doesn't get to be in the big dramatic meetings anyway.
Did you listen to that podcast, by the way?
I did. Yeah. It was.
Did you have like a overarching thought about it?
No, it was a lot. I think it was very. The hard thing about when you reflect on those years at Mars Hill, and I do talk about this a little bit in the book, not just Mars Hill, but just being in ministry. I carry a lot of guilt from those years of just, and there's been a lot of time of just like reconciling relationships of being like, hey man, I gave you some bad advice there, or I told you to do the wrong thing, and I was being controlling or manipulative and not showing empathy. And I don't think that, and there's a lot of like cleanup work of that. And when we were at Marcel, there's an amount of time where you're like, hey man, I'm both like victim and victimizer here.
Right.
Some of this blood is on my hands, even though we weren't, like chief of sinners there. We weren't it wasn't, we left 4 or 5 years before Marcel even imploded. But, there was a lot of good that we felt like we did, but there was also a lot of like, and sorrow and embarrassment and shame. And so that's why the faith chapter was the one that she kind of pushed, like, hey, I think you need to dig deeper on this. And I was like, but I don't want to. How about we just do another one about me sleeping in airports? Because that's funny. And that's inspiring.
Dave.
Wait, should have been.
Sorry.
Listen, can I ask you a question?
Please.
I feel like we're at that place in our relationship.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. What's the last thing you want to worry about when you're living your best life?
Oh, you talking about Ben Rector's new song?
Oh,
Living the best life. Checks in the mail, Ben.
I was gonna say.
I would say Tushy Sweat.
Ooh, the tush sweat,
Yeah.
which was my favorite dance craze in the 50s. Exactly. Okay.
Yep.
And with MeUndies, you never have to worry about that tush sweat again.
I'm listening. Go
Okay. MeUndies has the lightest and most breathable fabrics to keep you cool and comfortable wherever you go. From undies, bralettes, and socks to loungewear and swimwear, you can find something for all your plans. Yes.
MeUndies also releases new prints all the time, like the kind I have on right now,
What?
Dave.
No.
So you can match with your partner, your friends, even your dog if you want to. No judgment. Find your ultimate summer comfort in sizes extra small to 4XL.
I may have just gotten the ones with sea turtles on it, John. I don't know. I'm crazy. You can't hold me down. MeUndies has a great offer for the listeners, okay? Any first-time purchasers, you get how much off, John? Guess.
8%. Tops.
Double it and then take one off. 15%. Yes, that's how crazy
You see
they are.
that fast math?
You
know, for a limited time, if you sign up for their free to join MeUndies membership, you get 25% off your first membership item.
To get 15% off your first order, 25% off your first membership item, and 100% satisfaction guarantee, what should they do, John?
You should go to MeUndies.com/Dadville. That's
right.
what I was going to say.
Tell them again.
That's MeUndies.com/Dadville to get 15% off your first order, 25% off your first membership item, and 100% satisfaction.
Listening to that podcast as I did the Marcel thing, I mean, it one of the themes I feel like is the power of like a culture where a church culture, a work culture, whatever, like that's such a powerful thing, because I feel like a lot of the people who, you know, they interviewed felt the way that you're describing. Like they really like carry a lot of like mixed feelings, a lot of like guilt for some of the things that they sort of got caught up in, all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, and I think that, you know, I think you could do that same podcast on a lot of churches.
For sure.
Yeah, right.
And I'm saying that as someone who has been in and around a lot of different churches, but Driscoll was such a lightning rod of a figure. And it was such I hope they listen to the podcast in seminaries. Yeah. I hope that they go like, this is a cautionary tale here, you know,
sure.
But it is, I don't know. We were very young at the time too. And we talk about this in there, like, you know, it was when you grow up in church, and I got into church around high school, it doesn't feel like it's for you. You know, it's like, this is what our parents do. We would literally call it big church, the Sunday service, you know, which is essentially saying this isn't for you. And then they're like, when we got married, they're like, you can join the young marrieds ministry. And I was like, these people are in their 40s. Like, well, they got married late. Like, that's not the same. These guys like have like 401ks and we're still in college. Like we're not the same here. So, but when we landed in Marcel, we're like, this feels for us. The music is for us. It's dark. The pastor's funny. Like it felt like it was catered towards youth, and particularly like Seattle youth, you know. But it also, we went there, it went from 1,500 to 15,000. That place changed pretty dramatically in our time. So yeah, to go full circle, Mel, you know, was because Mel she's talked about before, if anything, she's an oversharer. And I have to sometimes be like, hey, why don't you cool back a little? Yeah. We're just having a cappuccino with some friends. They didn't ask about your parents' divorce.
That is so me in my marriage. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's Melissa too. They'll be like, how you doing? She's like, our daughter's in therapy. I'm like, look, Mel, you got to ease into that.
At least get a running
start. We go weather. We go Schitt's Creek. And then we go,
spiral
our daughter's in therapy.
At that
point. There's stepping stones.
You know, one of the things I really appreciated that was so funny to me in the book is the translation of the fights. I mean, I feel like if there's a million disciplines I need to have in my marriage, I wish I was better at. But God, I wish I could think that way. Like, what are we really fighting about right now? Not
right.
You know, to your point about, you know, you talked about the SAT scores, but like, you know, not are we gonna, you know, mulch this weekend? But it's like really, you know, it's about a million other things. And I love the way you talk about that, because I do think, as much as you joke about it's being married specifically to Melissa, I think that is such a universal thought in marriage. Is like, if everybody just had a freaking button they could hit and go, what do you like? Just tell me what you are mad at. Like, what is the thing you're scared of right now?
Right,
you know?
right. Yeah. But then someone might get mad at you for not knowing why they were mad. So,
Well, you know, you talk about the SAT thing, Dave, that you bring up, which you say is like, that's one of your, like, what do you call it? Tripwire?
Tripwire. Yeah, little insecurity there.
Right. So that is a specific thing to you. But of course, like reading this book this morning, I'm like, that makes me think of exactly what Amy and my tripwire is. That would be my thing. And I'm imagining,
what are they? You gotta share them now.
It would be me picking up and sort of cleaning around the house.
Yep.
That would be that'd be a thing. I have to like keep my eye on that. right?
Yeah, because
But
then it spirals to.
Well, and
"Hey, could
it's
you
more
pick
than
that up?"
just that I'm picking the thing, the close up. It's that I'm saying you're not being like my mom. Tammy's really clean.
Oh yeah.
Amy,
Oh,
can you be
yeah.
more like
Yeah.
Tammy? It's just there's
Yeah.
so many
You know the
layers
one
under
the
there.
one
Yes.
for us, which I mean John and I've laughed about this. Man, whew, I have to be careful. Is anytime Annie, even with no guile, just sincerely asks like what I'm doing with my time during, like, what are you doing today, or like,
Oh,
whew,
yeah. So
roll
this is
out
another
the
question
cannons
that I
and the
have for
gasoline.
you.
It is like,
Yes, it's all about the inflection when it's asked.
you know,
Yeah.
like, I mean,
pace.
that's, you know, if you're home, like, as performing people, there's a lot of, like, you know, John and I will work on songs all day. You may work on material, you know, wherever that is that you're doing that. But man, if she massages a word the wrong way in that question, like, so are you writing this afternoon? Oh, I'm sorry. Am I what? The thing that pays for everything? Is that what you're asking? And that,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, and she'll be like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
I'm sorry. Did you ask if I was keeping the lights on?
She will
Did
literally,
you-
and she'll know, because she'll be like, hey, whoa, 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 whoa. That's not, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm already breathing.
See, and this is where, like,
Yeah.
Dustin, if you were writing that, this is what's so genius about that translation page is where you're translating the fight. The translation would be, like, Annie would say, "What are you doing today, Dave?" Translation, "What are you doing
yeah,
today, Dave?"
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and mine is like,
That's it.
well, let
Dave-
me guess, you're
Dave
playing in
hears-
the back room watching YouTube videos and like piddling on your guitar, and yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's every insecurity I have just is
Yeah.
on parade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I was going to say, and a lot of time the fear there, Dave, is that
Oh,
she's
gosh.
right. That's what you
I'm
are
not
doing.
mad. I'm not
Yeah,
mad
that's why
because
you're
wrong.
That's why it's a tripwire.
I'm mad because I'm like, stop
Yeah,
looking
yeah,
out the
yeah,
window
no,
into
man.
the studio. You know, those YouTube videos are inspirational. The Key and Peele stuff helps me get lyrics.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So did those did those kinds of exchanges with you and Melissa through writing this book, and like I was thinking, can you have that level of awareness and like introspection into your relationship, and can you do that without it changing it? You know what I mean? It, like, through writing
you
this
mean,
book,
like-
has it changed
yeah.
any of that for you guys?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, we certainly, because a lot of it was discussion of just like, hey, you know, I think this is what's happening when this is happening. Or there were a lot of times she'll do this too. She's like, that's just not true. That's not what's really happening here. That led to like some discussion there. But, you know, there's always just, if you get rid of one tripwire, then you have we had a fight yesterday, right? This is ready. You'll know exactly. I think everyone will relate to this. I said it where we had to do something. We were on a kind of a tight clock, and I go, hey, I'm ready when you are. Just the way I hit you, not hey, ready when you are, but hey, I'm ready when you are. and that made her angry. And you know what? I knew what I was saying when I said that.
Yeah,
there
right.
was a little like,
Yep.
hey, you've had we knew we had to do this at this time. And I definitely saw Instagram being scrolled pretty thoroughly.
It is.
And you didn't even like my video.
I saw you scroll past my video.
I know. I saw you mute me.
You didn't even watch my stories. That would be the worst. Like, I'd be sitting next to Annie. I'll be sitting next to her on the couch, and I'll see her like on stories. You know, like we're watching some Netflix show up, and I see her. She's kind of watching stories, and mine will pop up, and she does and I'm like, oh, okay, well, there's
Just
just
tap,
skip
tap,
old
tap, tap.
daddy
Wait.
Dave. Skip old daddy Dave.
Yeah. I put the filter on my face and
Come on,
everything. I'm doing the thing.
You know, isn't it? I feel like one of the biggest takeaways that I've had in the 17 years we've been married, and this is something I have to think about so much in those moments, Dustin, you say this so well, is like, you know, as you know, sort of the thing that can drive your spouse crazy, or they know the thing, and they know just the way to say that little word to get like, marriage to me, I forget this, and when I do, it's to my detriment, is still two humans who are autonomous. Like, you're not connected by some skin graph, like you're not connected by your head, or, you know, you're two people. you're still two very different people
Yeah.
who are deciding every day, every moment, to be together, to commit to each other, and to love each other in these things. And there are these moments where I'm like, hey, she's late, but she's a grown woman, and that her decision was to be late, and
Right.
sometimes she's just going to choose to be late, and it's her. This isn't about me. It's not ruining my day.
Right.
Sure, it's making me.
Why do I
That's
care in the
point.
first place?
And so I think I think one of the things that I really, if I could go back and change the if I could sit with myself when I was getting married, one of the things that I would say is just that. I think I really misunderstood some of the spirituality and some of the sort of teaching around that idea of like, you're one, you are one, you're one person, God sees you as one. Because I think I got a lot of sort of bad intel on like when God sort of looks at your family, he's looking at you as the man, and maybe there's some truth to that. Like we're trying to really care and serve and lead our families. But I think at the same time, I wish there had been more talk around, but you are still absolutely two humans. Like there's never a point in your marriage where you're still not just Dave. And I think that would have served me well, because I took on all of this extra weight of kind of like, man, if she's struggling, I'm struggling. And sure, there's truth to that. But there's also like, there's just things she needs to work on her own with the Lord and herself, or her friends, or her therapist and herself, that she doesn't need me around for. And she may want to talk to me about it, or, you know, but I think that I just put on so much extra weight, feeling like I almost had to manage, which she never asked for, but I almost had to, like in that moment early in our marriage, I might have taken on like, I need to help her sort of understand how to manage her time better. Cause I'm really loving her by like,
because that's what Jesus
well, that's
wants.
what I mean. It's
Jesus wants me. Jesus, what this woman needs is
micromanaging.
What this woman needs is a man. I know that women are perform better on every form of standardized testing, that they live longer, that they greater achievement in every other way, every tangible way whatsoever.
She is an example of someone, though, that's an asterisk here, that really needs just me to step in and micromanage.
Yeah, I actually don't even call her Melissa. I call her the weaker vessel. I call I was how to be married to the
Santa
weaker
Maria
vessel
to your
is
Mayflower, just always listing behind in the wake.
No, it is. I agree with you. She said that to me like recently, like about a year and a half ago. I was in like just going through some stuff and some heavy stuff, and was having like in a pretty short period of time I was having pretty bad panic attacks, and she was like there and supportive. And then one day she was like, "Hey, so are you gonna like work on that? Like, or are you gonna end up in fetal position once a week in the living room?" And you're like, message received. Cause like, and that's kind of what your point is. Like, I'm my own person.
Right.
I have to deal with these things, and I've started drinking heavily to
satiate that heathen bloodthirst of anxiety, I feed it with liquor.
So I
it's
did
trial
do
and error,
something.
you know.
You say that so well, doesn't it? I think people listening will resonate at some level. There really is this thing where it's like, we love our spouses and you want to support them, but again, ultimately, it really was your decision to sort of go, I want to get better. To talk to somebody, or whatever the move is, that you still got to do that. And I think that for me has gotten me in trouble a lot, because I think some weird thing that I have for so long that I'm getting better at, where I really felt like this is like me coming in and I don't think it's a machismo. I think there's something about sort of the helpmate thing, I say in quotes. It's like, but I think like I can really overestimate my ability to help in those situations, as opposed to just going like, and I think too, that's one of the things that kids are really interesting about, is like, I don't know if y'all feel this way, but you watch your spouse handle a situation like she watches me handle a situation. And there are numerous times during the day where I'm like, I wouldn't do it that way. Neither one is right or wrong, but she has chosen to play that card, and she can, because she's a grown woman and she's their mom. Yeah. But now I wouldn't have. And I know there's a million times a day she watches me do that. And that is maybe one of the like heights of autonomy, where I'm like, oh, that was an interesting play. And
it's an interesting play. I wouldn't have made that pass.
You know what I mean? Like, there may be someday
you threw into window, a tight window there. But,
well, I think too, like she's
you're a
looking
gamer.
at me going like, those kids, there's going to be a moment where they want to sit in therapy because of that move you just made. And I didn't make that move. So they're not going to be talking about to their therapist about, my mom said, no, just my dad. He just said that by himself to me. And mom didn't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, that all checks out quite a bit. Where sometimes, you are just like more of an observer, and you're like, hey, if you want me to step in, I will.
Yeah.
But you got this. You know, but because that's a scary thing. That's like, that's a tripwire for me is if I feel like in any way that she's implying that I'm a bad parent.
Yeah.
That sends me over the edge when she'll be like, have you ever had to tell your wife or had your spouse tell you to like lower your voice to the kids? You're like, well, no, I'm yelling at everybody. You want a piece of this too? Bring in the cats. I'll go yell at the neighbors. Everybody gets a little of this.
Bring him in.
Oh my gosh.
John Dave. That was good.
Did you end with a V?
I did, because I kind of was trying to land with your ending.
All right. Anyway, Dave.
Yeah.
I think we finally made it.
You knew I was going to do. I think we finally made it.
You're ending everything with a V.
Yeah, it's a season of it.
No, I think we finally made it.
Yeah, I did too. Did we get, when you say it that way, it makes me think, did we finally get our name on the billboard? I've been calling that guy all the time.
Yeah, that search continues. But we have our own signature coffee blend.
John, stop.
Dadville coffee.
Stop. What are the three? It's ever since I met you, when you were at Anderson University, there were
20
three
years
things
ago.
I told you.
Yep, and they were all the same thing.
What were they?
You said, what's your name? And I want to have a coffee blend with you.
I can't. And are you telling me that today that dream is realized?
It is realized.
Don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. Listen, I was drinking coffee this morning, and it had a certain joie de vivre about it, okay? I think it's actually the Dadville blend. Because I looked at it.
Of course it is.
Listen, I looked at it, and I thought, no, that's actually too good to be true. That's one of the three things I wanted in life that are actually, as you said, the same thing. And it's that we have a Dadville blend. Methodical, our homies, our home slices.
So good.
The coffee roasters with the mostest. Roast their coffee to best express the life it lived, John.
Yep.
Okay?
Respect the bean, Dave.
The place, the weather, the soil, and to honor the skilled people who cultivated it.
Methodical roast coffee to order so you always receive the freshest beans possible.
And when I drink it, I taste hints of chocolate, graham and brown sugar.
Yep.
It's what? And a little bit of just good times. That's just in there for free. Visit methodicalcoffee.com for more information and use the discount code Dadville for 10% off your first order.
Spoiler alert, I know exactly what I'm getting myself for Father's Day.
You know what's crazy?
Yeah.
I'm getting myself the same thing. Oh my gosh. Don't forget to visit methodicalcoffee.com for more information and use the discount code Dadville for 10% off your first order.
Okay, so I have like a million questions about this book. I love it so much, and I'm only 72 pages in. But
great.
One of the things I really loved about what you wrote about was your relationship with money, like the two of you, you and Melissa, like your different upbringings, and how that kind of like, you said about money, like there's no, I think you said there are two types of marriages, right? There's like one, people who fight about money and liars.
Yeah.
Which I thought is so great and so true. But like, how has your relationship with money changed, would you say? Like after, like, is it changing? Like from the outside looking in, now you're hitting your stride, Dustin Nickerson, you're like having success. Is your relationship with money?
We know how well Instagram and TikTok pay. So pretty, right. I'm killing it on the internet. Money, yeah. The biggest relief. That what do they say that's old stat of like that the only money number that will make you happy, it's like when you stop worrying about money. That's the only time. And I think it's like 80,000 or something like that, but it depends on where you live. Like there is a number where actually an amount of money will not make you any happier, because really all you want of money is to not worry that your basic needs are going to be met. And we have, thankfully, through this stupid career that I have actively, we don't want in that sense. Like we have, our lights are on, our bills are paid for, we're able to put money away. So in that sense, yes, but there's always, what are we willing to spend money on? There's always, now we have the good 3 days to 10 days after I found out how much we're going to pay in taxes, where you can't be around me, where I just play, I was like, this is why I liked Rage Against the Machine in middle school. I knew it, it's like, it's, there's stuff like that. There's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how much this cost, or we lost money on this gig, or the special didn't make as much money. There's stuff like that. So it does change, but it is, as we talk about in the book, I mean, we went bankrupt. We foreclosed on a home. I mean,
Right.
we were like low. So there is a real value to like perspective. And that's,
Right.
that's why I'm trying really hard to convince my kids that they're poor.
What a great angle. No, guys, you don't understand. You don't
So-
understand.
You don't understand.
But I mean, my thing with, when you were talking about Melissa in the book, I kind of resonated with a lot of it. Like, my thing is like, I want security. I want financial security. And when I was reading that crazy stuff that you guys went through in 07, 08 with the fun, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, a little housing market crash.
Yeah,
Good times.
it was like a roller coaster.
Yeah, sorry.
Like for me, that was COVID. That was spring of 2020. And I feel like I came out maybe slightly changed. Like my ship was slightly corrected in that I had, like, my worst nightmare had come true. All like 71 dates canceled. And there I was, just like, all right, well, no money is coming in. What am I going to do? I don't know. I'm not allowed to leave.
And John, you hit absolute rock bottom, which is you started a podcast.
I went over to Dave's house, and I was like, well, here we are, rock bottom. Let's start this
nothing
podcast.
lower than starting
Let's
a
do it.
podcast. That is the
Let's
rock
do it.
bottom. Yeah, it got stripped
But
away from
did you
me,
feel
right?
like it changed you going through, now you've gone through like kind of two of those situations? Like, do those help?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
This is, I'll say this without any commentary on the issues. I was touring with John Christ in the fall of 2019, and then John's stuff hit, and so all of our dates for the next year or so were gone. And I was like, okay. And then, I guess we'll rebuild, and we build all these things, do my own gigs, little headlining dates, and then COVID hit, and I was like, I guess you just want us to be poor again, God. What's going on? You've done, like, I've lost this twice now. And, so I do think that there was an element of, like, when you have, when you've kind of come up from the ashes like that you, and we were never on the streets. We always had the safety net of, like, if we had to move in with folks or something, that was there. It's a lot worse for a lot of people, but it was certainly scary. But I full disclosure, I found myself like laughing about it, and then getting kind of panicky and working, like, which is kind of how I built this little bit of like online following I have. Most of that has come since the start of the pandemic, because I was like, well, I have no excuse. But to like sit down and write a book and figure out how to edit videos, and then forget to bring my laptop to do a podcast in a youth room in here while my phone almost is dead. So I'm clearly killing it in every way whatsoever.
We've never had an interview end with a guest with their device just
that
dying.
could be fun.
So that could be kind of cool.
Yeah, that's true. We've got, I think I'm at about
that's
7%.
exciting. Let's roll the
we'll
dice.
See.
Let's
we'll
roll
see
the
how
dice.
many.
Well,
It's like the
Oh
Kramer
my
episode
gosh.
on Seinfeld.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. Is that our 17th, like 90s
I was going to
early
say, we are
2000s
skirting. It's
reference?
dangerous.
And
it's very
counting.
dangerous.
Yeah, and counting crows. That's 19. Sorry.
Gosh, you just took me to a very...
It's a bad tick that I have.
Yeah.
Well, knowing that the phone is dying, it's a wonderful time to land this plane. So we do a couple of questions with every guest before we release them back to the wolves. And I'll ask the first of these two. Okay, what is the one thing that you want your kids to know?
to know. I would like my. Yeah, I want. I don't know if this is a no or a B thing. I would say to be kind, and then so they're to know that literally being kind is the most important, perhaps the only important thing in the world.
Wow.
Like, that's it. We preach kindness and empathy more than anything in our home. We do other things, attitude and effort and stuff like that. We talk about that book a little bit too, but you're just like, and we know we're not always the best models of it either, but just kindness. That's what we want them to embody. I don't know if that's going to always make you a successful person in the world, but I know it'll make you a good person.
Yeah.
And that's what we're aiming for.
Yeah. All right. So last question. Many, many years from now, after you've gotten off stage at Madison Square Garden and the, New
I was
York
opening.
Times
I was opening.
Still, it's great. Still
Yeah.
fun. You've sold 1 million books and then you die. And what do you want your kids to say at your funeral, which is at Madison Square Garden?
You were so
Oh,
popular.
wow.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, totally. It's like
They just arrange it quickly right after the show.
Yeah. Yeah, they just rounded that up. They had to paper the room too. Not enough people bought tickets. Or not They had to bark on the corner. Hey, we got free tickets to Madison tonight. Who is it?
Who is it?
It's
who
Dustin
was
Nickerson.
it?
Who was it exactly? He might come back. I don't know. He might respawn. What would I like my kids to say about me? I want them to feel that they were loved. That's what you want them to know. I want my kids to feel and know that despite my massive character flaws and huge failings to them in so many different ways, that they were loved and that they can confidently say that I love them and that they felt loved by me.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, thank you a bajillion million times for being on.
Yeah, man.
We again, I hope you know this, but we both think you are so unbelievably funny and such a wonderful dude. And again, this book is so great. How to Be Married to Melissa, out June 7th.
Thanks,
so
guys.
go grab that thing, everybody.
Everybody go buy it.
And
I can't
are
wait.
you going to be in
the rest of
Nashville?
it.
Are you anytime soon? Do any shows?
Yeah, I'll be there July 23rd, I think.
Oh, nice.
I'm at Zany, so yeah.
Oh, great.
Okay.
We'll roll through, yeah.
We might
Yeah,
show
I'll
up and
hang
show
out.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah. all right.
Thanks again.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Dadville.